I love the Naperian River and all the creeks and waterways around it, because when I was a kid, it's where I'd get out and have adventures. I'd see frogs, I'd find fish, lizards, there's lots of birds. It was my backyard. Now, caring for the Naperian River is really important. It's up to all of us. Now, you might think, what am I doing here? Behind me is a rain garden, and over to my left, there's a road and people's homes. Looking after our river starts in this landscape. It starts with water-sensitive urban design. And councils, Penrith City Council and Camden Council, are committed to taking care of the Naperian River with these design features.
Yeah, a number of years ago, Council adopted a water-sensitive urban design policy which aimed to ensure that new developments in the new release areas or industrial areas had a requirement to implement stormwater treatment and management measures that met the needs of the receiving waterways, be it South Creek or be it the Naperian River.
Camden Council has a few plans and policies in place. We have guidelines and restrictions on what developers can build. A requirement to that is having stormwater treatment measures in place, where systems like a rain garden that we're in here are designed to remove some of the stormwater pollutants in our stormwater.
Rain gardens, they're found across both local government areas, and they've got their own design features and quirks. Might be just the type of plants. And that's water-sensitive urban design. It could be the bioswale that meanders through the landscape, slowing the water flow down, which is critical to the success of taking out nutrients. The thing is, whether it be a gross pollutant trap beneath your feet, a bioretention basin next to your local sporting field, or the grates along the road trapping bits of litter, they're all working in conjunction with one another to take care of water quality.
Stormwater is more of an issue in an urban catchment because of the increased hard surfaces. A naturalised catchment which naturally has trees and grasses and vegetation, when it rains, the water is slowed down by the leaves and the grasses and is uptaken into the ground through groundwater and is slowly then released into our creeks. The water-sensitive urban design is replicating what happens in nature. It is mimicking those natural filtration components of wetlands where the roots and the plant stems of the plants slow water but also take out the nutrients of the water and purify it.
Walking along the street, I've managed to find 3 items of litter which would have ended up in the waterway had either I not picked them up or they got caught in the gross pollutant trap that's behind me.
So our GPT is a gross pollutant trap. It's a form of stormwater quality improvement device, and it's a primary treatment device that helps to remove gross pollutants, silt and sediment from stormwater before it enters a downstream ecosystem. Gross pollutants is a big one, plastic bottles, tennis balls, all that kind of stuff, but then you also get a lot of construction debris, fine silt and sediments from some of these new estates that have been built up. Gross pollutant traps capture a lot of that, help reduce the turbidity in water downstream.
Now, once the water leaves the gross pollutant trap without that litter, it enters into this bioretention basin. Now, the bioretention basin relies upon biology, the living things, to help treat this water. In my arm, I've got an example of the media that you would find underneath the roots of those reeds growing in there. Now, here, the top layer, we've got a filter media. In this filter media, we've got all those plants' roots growing, as well as a whole heap of good allies. I'm talking about bacteria and fungi. With a couple of added extra little creepy crawlies are in there processing a lot of pollution. Sediment, such as soil, things like chemicals from around our homes, from cleaning products, or fertilisers from our gardens, or oil from our roads can enter into this media and get trapped. There, the bacteria and fungi begin to break it down and make it available for the plants, such as the reeds in this bioretention basin, to actually utilise and grow. As the water seeps down further, it hits a transitionary sand, preventing a lot of other fine particles from getting any deeper. Because underneath that there's a drainage layer, which allows the water to be carried away relatively quickly. Bioretention basins have a few different purposes. They hold water in the landscape, reducing the influence on floods. They allow it to slowly infiltrate into the surrounding landscape, and they biologically treat the water, making it much cleaner.
So there's new research that shows that rain gardens actually take and hold a lot of water. So that's a really good thing in our environment, because stormwater, not only is it sometimes bad in quality, but it's also bad in quantity. Too much water for our waterways can cause erosion and be detrimental to our environment. It can also blow out the habitat and homes of some of our essential wildlife, like water bugs. So a rain garden is really effective in slowing down the water that's entering our creek and uptaking it and releasing it into the environment, which also helps cool our urban areas.
This is just beautiful. Where I am right now is amongst two wetlands. To my left, we've got a natural carex wetland. It's been restored, weeds have been removed, and native plants have been replaced. This is a constructed wetland to my right, and this has been built with the sole purpose of treating stormwater. Very similar to the natural wetland, is doing almost the same job. The brilliance of both of these is they're teeming with wildlife. There's cicadas all around. There's crickets and grasshoppers chirping. I've seen little baby frogs. There are dragonflies darting over the top hunting mosquitoes. It's a real hive of activity, and there's lots of birds out there hunting these little animals. Both these two wetlands in conjunction are acting like a sponge. They're taking a lot of stormwater, they're absorbing it, they're holding it in the landscape for a while and slowly releasing it back into the Naperian River. That reduces the amount of water that hits the Naperian River in a big rain event, reducing the risk of flood. But what's brilliant about both these wetlands is as that water sits in that sponge, bacteria, fungi, little invertebrates, insects and worms, they're actually processing the water and they're pulling out some of the pollutants. So it's doing a beautiful job keeping the Naperian nice and clean. It's great seeing what councils are doing through their environmental design to copy nature and take care of stormwater. But it's up to all of us, around our homes and where we work, we need to take the right steps as well, because a lot of stormwater isn't treated. Such as, when you're washing your car, take it to a designated car washing facility, or even better, wash it on the lawn. If you ever have to use any chemicals, such as cleaning products, fertilisers, pesticides or anything else, read the label carefully. Don't do it when it's raining, and keep it away from your gutters, because you don't want to see it going down into the local creek. And when I'm out cutting my garden down, getting the snip bits and whatever else and lawn clippings, I put them in the compost or the green bin.
I guess it's also important to just remember that the impact that you have on your stormwater is impacting the greater landscape. It's influencing the rivers and the creeks and the animals that live in it, but also the spaces that you enjoy. So the river provides not only environmental benefits to the local environment, but it also provides that mental, spiritual and social element that we all have really important part of our lives.
At Penrith City Council, we share the responsibility of being the custodians of this river. And so we're continually in contact with other councils such as Camden and Hawkesbury to make sure that we're working together to get the best out of the river.
And the water sensitive urban design that we've seen is doing its best to process and clean the water entering this river. But it can't do it alone. It's up to us, and as we've seen, what we do around our homes, around where we work, impacts this water. And what's fascinating with this spot right here is that it's connected to the Hawkesbury River further downstream, which is connected to the Pacific Ocean and to the rest of the world. It's our responsibility to take care of it.